All right, back at the beginning, I talked about photo editing software. So now we've got the lighting set up. We've taken the picture. We've got a good exposure because we're using the metering mode and the exposure compensation. But we're still going to have to do a little bit of retouching to meet the Amazon requirements of that all-white background. So let's talk a little bit about photo editing software. Now, a lot of the OSI rock stars know about Bling It. There is a piece of software that will actually remove the background easily from the item, and you can replace it with a white background. It just takes a couple of mouse strokes, and voila, you've got a white background, or whatever background you want to put in. But with Amazon, you want it to be that white background. So Bling It. It's a download. I think it's still $50. It's not terribly expensive. So if you don't have any other software, this might be a good solution. Or if you have purchased Bling It, there you go. Pull it out of the mothballs and bring it up and start using it. If you're going to do a lot of catalog photos for your Amazon listings, if you're going to be supplying lots of new products to Amazon, then it is time to look at one of the advanced Adobe products, either Photoshop, the full Photoshop version, or a lighter version. Now, the full Photoshop version, I must warn you, is not something to take lightly. It's a several $100 purchase, and it's going to take a couple of terms in school to learn how to get the most out of your Photoshop elements if you jump into CS5. I think it's beyond CS5. It might be 6 or 7 now. But if you jump into one of these advanced Photoshops. Now, Photoshop Lightbox is actually designed for photographers who may not be doing a lot of banners and graphics and things like that. They mostly want to review their photos and have them printed. That's what Photoshop Lightbox is, their target audience is. And for the rest of us, Photoshop Elements. Photoshop Elements is what I use. I'm perfectly happy with it. It does everything I need it to do. It does the graphics that I want to do, and it does the photo editing that I need for an all-white background for Amazon. So if you don't have Photoshop Elements, I would strongly recommend it as a tool for your toolkit for your Amazon white backgrounds. It's going to make your photo editing life very easy once you learn how to use it. Of course, if you get the perfect picture with the perfect white, almost perfect white background coming out of the camera, then you can use Google Picasa. It is a free application, and if you only need just a couple of quick tweaks to make that white background white, you've mastered this exposure compensation and the metering mode. Go ahead and use Picasa. It's a free download. I really like Picasa when I'm doing the simple stuff because it makes it go fast. It's easy to use, and its simple interface makes it very, very appealing to a lot of people who don't like to do a lot of advanced photo editing. So those are your choices of your different kinds of software. I thought now what I would do is talk or show you some demos inside of Photoshop Elements, and show you how to kind of take this this picture that you have taken and turn it into an all-white background. So give me just a second and I'll pull up my photo editing software. I have pulled up a little frog mug. Now, this frog mug is it's an example of taking a picture with a white background using the evaluative metering mode. In other words, the camera kind of tried to meter the frog mug and the white background and kind of turned it all into this flat image. in photography we kind of refer to it as kind of flat. There's nothing really popping here. We don't have a white background, it's a gray background. So if I was going to put this on Amazon, they would not be very happy about it. So the nice thing about this exposure, though, is that it is a good exposure all the way around. So I have a lot of kind of meat on the bones to work with when it comes to turning this into an all-white background. The exposure is essentially good enough for me to work with it and get it into a white background. So to do that, what I have got up is actually Photoshop Elements 8, I believe is what I'm on. And so there's been a couple of revisions, and when I actually upgrade from XP to Windows 7, I will definitely get the latest, greatest version of Photoshop Elements. But until then, I'm using 8. But there are some really compelling reasons to get 10 because the photo editing is even easier, and they've got some new toys to play with as well. And when I get 10, I'll be glad to do some of those toy demos for you all. But until then, I'm showing you 8. So back to my frog photo. Really quickly, this is a layer over here on my right-hand side. This is kind of the layer palette over here, and here is the frog. So what I want to do is I just want to pull a white background out of this frog image, and to do that, I'm going to go up to Enhance up here on the command menu. And I'm going to adjust lighting. Now I'm not going to do the shadows and highlights, so the brightness and contrast. What I'm going for is what's called levels. And I'm just going to click on levels. And now I'm going to pull up levels. And I'm trying to make sure you all can see it, because I don't know about the box on the side. Is that visible? Alright, so here is the histogram. See that? This is the histogram information. And what we've got is whites here and darks over here. And so what I'm seeing is we've got this kind of light bump here, which is our gray. But what I'm seeing is midtones, not a real lot of lights and darks. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab the slider bar and I'm going to move it over. And as I start moving it over, watch as the frog background starts getting lighter. See how it's getting lighter as we're going across? So I'm just lightening it up, and I'm moving it till I'm seeing an almost perfect white. I'm going to go about there. Now, the frog mug itself, we're starting to, it looks okay, but we're actually losing some color. It's still looking a little bit flat to me, and that's because there aren't real defined blacks to this frog mug at this point, because I've lightened it up so much that we've started losing our blacks. So I want to come over here and pull my blacks over a little bit. Now watch the cup, and especially down in this area as I start sliding the blacks over. You see how we're starting to get some detail in the blacks now, and we're getting a much more colorful picture. So that is, now I've got a pretty nice white background, and all I'd need to do is straighten it up a little bit and probably crop it to the subject. And now I've got a pretty good picture against an all-white background, and that would be acceptable for the Amazon catalog. And again, going in, I had a good exposure. I just tweaked it a little bit in my photo editing software. Now we have another one. It is it's a Dooney and Burke bag that is shot against an all-white background. You see I've got sides of the table here, and I also have my floating background. So I've got just a piece of paper that I've taken the picture on. Now with this one, the the bag is actually a little bit overexposed. It's supposed to be a nice rich black, and I've tried to get it so white that, that I've lost some of the detail in this good rich black bag, and you know, that's part of the appeal of these kind of bags. So what I can do here is first I'm going to crop it so that I'm just cropping it to the subject, and I'm getting rid of all that other stuff, and even that has improved it. Now I'm going to go up to my enhance, and I'm going to adjust the lighting, and I'm going to go back to my levels. And now you see the histogram here, it shows that I've got a lot of good whites, and we're at that 255 number, so that's a good thing. So what I'm just going to do is I'm going to bring in the blacks and just adjust the blacks. Now this is just adjusting the black areas here for me, so it's just bringing up that black a little bit. And now I have a much richer color. Now if I am concerned that this is not the 255 color, I can also go here and I can go to enhance, and what I can do is adjust color and remove color cast. And when I click on color cast, what it says here is to correct a color cast, click on a part of the image that should be either gray, white, or black, and Elements will adjust the photo based on where you click. So I can click on this because I know I want it to be white. I just click on that, and that will adjust it to that white. So now it has adjusted it, and I can be very confident that it is that 255 number that we want. So just a simple fix there, and we've got a nice white background, as we started off with a fairly good exposure going in by changing some of those settings on our camera. Now the final one I wanted to show you is this one. I actually shot it against a graduated background from white to blue, and that doesn't work for the Amazon catalog. So how am I going to get this into the Amazon catalog? And this is where we're going to remove the background and replace it with white. So to do that, I want to explain a couple of things first before we get there. Again, I'm going to come back over here to the right-hand side, and you'll see that one of the unique things about working with Photoshop or Photoshop Elements is the ability to work with what are called layers. So we have layers here that we can work with, and what layers are is kind of like a sandwich. You put one layer on top of the next, on top of the next, on top of the next to create the image. It's great for graphics arts work, doing logos and that kind of thing. But it can also help, when we're removing the background. So what I'm going to do is that I'm going to come up here to my image, and I'm going to look for a thing called the Magic Extractor. Very much like Bling It. Actually, it can be, it works on the same principle. So I'm going to the Magic Extractor, and the Magic Extractor is going to help me pull this low pro bag away or out of the background. So I'm going to say, first I'm going to click on this plus, and I'm going to tell Photoshop Elements what I want to keep. So I'm going to just go ahead and go here, and just everything in red is what I'm going to tell Photoshop Elements to keep. So I don't have to be terribly neat about this, but I do want to make sure I'm telling Photoshop Elements, where I want to, what I want to keep. Oops, I went outside the line there. I'm going to have to go fix that. But I want to just let Photoshop Elements know. Now, if again, if there's not good contrast and density, in other words, if there's not a clear definition between the foreground and the background, the Magic Extractor is going to have a harder time extracting the background from the foreground. But if there's good contrast and density, like there is in this photograph, it should be fairly easy for my Magic Extractor to help me do this. Now, first I have to fix this I went out of the lines part, and unlike crayons, there's an eraser that allows me to just erase that really quickly. So I just want to keep that. And now I want to tell the extractor what I want to remove. So this is blue. I just want it to go away. I just tell the magic extractor I want all this stuff to go away. And I also want this area right here to be removed as well. So I'm just going to, yeah, it may catch it for you, the magic extractor, if you forget it. So now I'm going to hit preview and see how we did. It has removed this area here. Now, one of the problems that the magic extractor sometimes has is if you have values that are very similar, that it'll remove them too. And I was worried that it might remove the low pro words because it was white and we had white down here. It looks like it did a pretty good job of keeping the low pro for me. If it didn't, what I could go up here and do is click on fill holes, and it'll go back and readjust this, and hopefully it'll keep those those whites in there. It looks like it did a pretty good job, so I'm going to say OK. And now what I have is this low pro bag on what's called a transparent background. And I can see that it's a transparent background because it's got all the little checkerboards there. That indicates it's transparent in Photoshop Elements. So now what we're going to do is we're going to work with the Layers palette. And I'm not going to go into a lot of detail about the Layers palette, but I do want to say that if you are interested in learning more about layers and the advantages to layers, we do have a whole presentation on how to use Photoshop Elements specifically with layers over at the Web Seller Circle if you're interested. So if you want to see that, come on over to the Web Seller Circle and we'd be glad to show it to you. All right, so what we've got is this layer here. And I'm going to say I want to add a layer because I want my background. I want that white background. So I'm going to go up to here and I'm going to say create a new layer. And now I've got a new layer. Now the way layers work is just like a sandwich. If you've got a piece of bread and then you put mayonnaise on top, the mayonnaise is on top of the bread. And then you put a piece of chicken or whatever it is you're having, sandwich stuff on the next layer, and then the next layer on top of that's your whatever it is that you're making for your sandwich. You can tell it's lunchtime here at in the Northwest, thinking about food. So whatever I put here into this layer is going to be on top of this bag, is what I'm getting at. And so if it's on top, it's going to cover what it is that is under here. And let me show you exactly what I mean. I'm going to go and I'm going to add a white layer to our low pro bag. And I go over here to where the colors are, and you see as I hover over this little square over here on the left hand side, it may be hard for you to see, it's very small, it says set foreground color, and I'm just going to double click on it. And what I want to do is make sure that my foreground color is that 255 number. And there we go. So it is very all the way into the corner. I can review it. My RGB is 255, 255, 255. Or as I like to say, my color is FFFFFFFFF, and that's all white. So I've got the color that I want. So I just click on OK. And now I'm going to grab my paint bucket, which is essentially like when you empty a paint bucket out. So this layer is highlighted over here. I want you to look on the right. You see where it's grayed out. It means that whatever I spill my paint bucket into is what it's going to fill. And then I just click on my mouse and it fills it. So now I've got my white background, but guess what? I can't see my bag. Again, with these layers thing, one on top of the other. So if I say, okay, where's my bag? There it is. I can just see it, but I can't see it if it's together. So what I can do is I can just simply grab this layer and put it underneath the bag. So now I've got my bag on top and my layers on the bottom, so that I've got the bag on top of a white layer. It's the perfect white layer. It's that 255 that we're very concerned about, and we've got that nice low pro bag, well exposed on a white background. So the next step would be, of course, to save as, because this, if we save it now, what it's going to save it as is a PSD file. So it's going to keep the two layers intact, so you can come later to your photo editing software and fix it up if you want to. But Amazon won't accept a PSD file, so we have to put it into a format that Amazon will accept. So let's put it into a JPEG and call it the Low Pro for Amazon. Now, if I call it Low Pro for Amazon, I'm going to get myself into some trouble. What I need to do is know what the ISBN number is or the ASIN number is and name it that for Amazon specifically. But right now I don't actually have the listing up, so I don't know what the ASIN number is, but that would be the appropriate naming for it by using the assigned ASIN number or the manufacturer provided UPC or ISBN code number for the item. And then you would just click Save and you're ready to roll. It'll ask you, what file do you want? Do you want it to be maximum, or do you want it to, the resolution to be a little bit less? Now, if I was going to save this for the thought that I was going to print it out later as well as use it on my Amazon catalog photo, I would probably leave the maximum. If it's just for Amazon, I may compress it a little bit and go down to 10 or 8 or even a little bit less if you want to save Amazon some file space. The resolution really is, if you stay in the high or the maximum, you're going to get a good looking picture on that Amazon catalog photo when it's enlarged or reduced. But don't go any farther than high or maximum when you're compressing your file. And then just click OK. And you're done.